I don't do very many Polymere Clay tutorials because I'm not very good at them, but I did make this owl charm, our pendant for a necklace, so I thought I'd show you guys how to do it. So here's what you're going to need to do this little craft tutorial thing. So clean your hands, make sure your hands are clean, and then you want to get some wax paper, a marker, a cutting tool or a knife, or I just use a knife, that's what I have. And then you also need a toothpick or something to like poke small holes with, a round circle cutter or a container for a lid container, and then some polymer clay, which is just like oven baked clay. So let's get started. You want to start out by taking your clay, whatever color you choose. You only need one color for this, and rolling it into kind of a little log, and then break a quarter off and put that aside because you don't need it. Break the next quarter off and keep that for the head, and then use the rest of it for the body. So roll it into a ball, and then once you have it in a ball, squish it down so that it's like a flat circle, and then you're going to want to use something to roll it out. Now, I don't have like a clay rolling pin, I just have like a food rolling pin, so I used a marker because it's round. So just roll it out until it's like smooth and flat on one side or whatever, and then take your cookie cutter, or in my case I used a lid to a body scrub from Bath and Body Works, and it was obviously an empty, like, and it wasn't like full or whatever, because then the lid would be gross. Anyways, and cut it into a circle. So I just peeled off the extra clay, and then because this didn't cut a perfect line because it's not made for that, I just used my knife. You can use whatever cutting tool you have, and I just like cut off the awkward seams so that it was like more straight. So once that's done, I took the top of my marker, like the cap of it, and I just like pressed it into the clay to make these like what would be feathers, I guess, on the owl. And I just did this like the whole way up, and it doesn't matter, like some of them are a whole cap, some are just the top of the cap. It's the angle you hold it at, it does not really matter. And then you're going to want to take the two sides of it and kind of fold them in, making the top a bit skinnier than the bottom. Yeah. And then you just want to press it down so it's like firmly stuck there, and then mold the sides so the wings are more like bally instead of just like straight, like ball, like rounded instead of like straight lines. And then put that aside and move on to the head. So take that, roll it into a ball, and then break it in half, and you only need half of that ball of clay for the head. So just roll it into like a little sausage kind of thing, like, you know, where it's like a longish and skinny, and you want to make it so it's the same width as the skinniest part on the owl body, and then just press it out so that it's like wider, so it's not so like compressed, so it's more wide. Does that make sense? But it's still like around-ish the same length. Then I just took my marker and used it as a rolling pin again. And then in the top of it, I cut out like, I guess a half square or 3/4 of a square. But I did the tops on angle, so it makes like kind of like the pointed ear part of the owl. I'm really bad at talking about this. I'm really sorry. And then just mold it so it's like not any like awkward lines. And then stick it onto the owl, and you can see part of the body showing through. So I just went ahead and used my knife and cut that part off as well, just so it wasn't like protruding and awkward. And then you want to make sure that the head and the body are blended well together. So I just blended the two together. And like, I'm not a professional. I don't do this like quote unquote properly. I just do it the way that works for me. Then once the top is blended, I blended the sides so that it was all like stay together. Yeah. And I used a lighter color clay because if I decide to, I can paint it after it's baked, which I think is like a good idea, you know. Anyways, so that's what I did. I blended it all together, and then once that was done, I just took my cap for the marker that made the circles on the body, and I pressed it all the way down, well, not all the way, but like 3/4 of the way down to make like a nice eye imprint, and I did two of them because there's two eyes. Then I used the toothpick to make like little pupils in the inside the eyes, and then I used my knife and did like diagonal lines to make a little beak. So that's it. that's how my owl looks. I made mine a pendant, so I just added an eye pin to the top of it. And then you bake it according to the baking instructions on your clay.